Hello guys, now we are in the 57th championship of the Soviet Championship Series, and this was played between Evgeny Bareev and Alexander Belevsky in Leningrad 18th October to 5th November 1990, and the opening is Nimzo Indian defense, and the game goes d4 knight f6 c4 e6 knight c3 bishop b4 and bishop g5 and c5 d5 now and bishop takes c3 check. The most principled way of treating the Leningrad system, black doubles the pawns in the hope of blocking the center and so reduces the flexibility of white's pawns. Now b takes c3 and d6 e3 now, the alternative f3 and then e4 also can be played. Now queen e7 and knight f3 and e5 now, and this is a sound strategy. With only a light squared bishop left in its left, it is right for black to put his pawns on dark squares. And now knight d2 h6 bishop h4 g5. In a closed position with a stable center, this sharp advance has more positive features than negative. The aim is to limit the bishop's mobility. Now bishop g3, bishop f5, h4, playing to open the h file, and equally valid continuations are f3 or bishop e2 or even queen b3. Now rook g8, hg5, hg5. This position is typical for the Leningrad system. At first sight, white stands better in view of the two open files. Yet such an assessment is one-sided. There are defects in white's formation. His pawns and bishops lack mobility and cannot easily be activated. Now queen b3. Here f3 at once, which has been played from time to time. White not only has to consider the natural knight bd7 but also the more ambitious advance e4. Now queen b3 and then queen c7. Belevsky is a supporter of logical play. He intended to complete the development by means of knight bd7 and long castles and persists in this plan. There is the more paradoxical but equally justified king d8. Here king d8 and then bishop to e2 and king c7, which leads to much the same sort of position. And then after queen c7, then now f3, now knight bd7 and e4, bishop g6, bishop f2 and g4. An important move. Black not only rules out g2, g4 by white, which should cramp his pieces on the king side, but he also thinks about counterplay. Now queen a4, a critical point. Up to here, Bareev has played logically within the framework of his chosen system. He should now continue in the same natural way with bishop here. He could have continued bishop e2, then long castles, then long castle, and so harmoniously complete development. But but instead we get a series of moves where white chases after the illusion of an attack and loses his objectivity. Black plays a6, now rook b1, long castles, bishop h4, rook de8, and rook b2, rook h8. The picture is transformed, which has been running on the spot, whereas black is now ready to play on the h file. Now knight to b3. White is still under the illusion that he can attack by knight a5, yet this is easily repulsed and white's pieces are cut off at the edge of the board. He had to try bishop e2, so that if black doubled rook on the h file, he would have the move g3 in reserve. Now knight b6 by black, obviously not rook to h7, because after knight a5 and then knight b6 and then now rook takes b6, queen takes b6, and bishop takes f6 is coming. So and if at all the queen takes it, then bishop takes f6, king f2 can be played. If now king f2, then there is this. Is that black has a huge advantage here. In the game, black went knight b6, then queen a5 and knight fd7. Simple and convincing. Black has solved all his problems and proceeds to a counterattack. Now bishop d3 by white and f5. An excellent conclusion to his plan. The position is forced open and white's scattered pieces are not able to cope. Now fg4 is played. But ef5 was correct, and now I think e4 or bishop to h5 can be played, and then bishop to e4 and knight to c4, knight takes c4, and then queen takes c7 check, king takes, then rook, then Knight go like that. So, but in the game, f takes g4 was played. But because white did not play e takes f5 because of e4. There will be a quick breakthrough, because after bishop takes e4, it will be a mistake now. And g takes, f takes e4, and there will be bishop takes f5, and this, there is this. If at all this is played, okay. Now this, then this. So because of this, white didn't play e takes f5. He actually went for f takes g5. Now f takes e4. Now bishop e2 and e3. This far advanced pawn breaks the communication between white's pieces. Now rook h3, bishop e4 and bishop f1. Here if at all rook takes e3, then there will be rook takes h4, and after rook takes e4, now there is rook h1 check, king d2, and queen d8 is coming. All this is played, queen h4. So that's why rook takes e3 was not played, and after bishop e4, bishop f1 was played, and rook eg8. Now bishop e7. The computer shows to take the bishop, and after this there will be this. Photo g3. G3 is played. This is coming. The game bishop f1 was played, and then rook eg8. Now bishop e7. Once again forced, but now black strengthens even further his advanced forced. Now rook takes h3, g takes h3, bishop f3, knight c1, hurrying back to the defense. Now king b8, and exploiting white's helplessness, black calmly transfers the king to a7 to free his queen for action on the king side. Now rook h2, e4, rook b2, now king a7, bishop h4, rook queen c8, bishop g3, queen f8, and queen a3, queen f6, queen b3, rook f8, queen c2, bishop takes g4, and queen g2. Having made this superfluous move through inertia, Bareev resigned without waiting for queen takes c3 check. So white player Bareev lost the game. So guys, we'll be looking at the next 56th championship in the next video. I hope you enjoyed the game. Thank you all.